And I said, "This is my infirmity, but I will remember the years of the right hand of the Most High." Psalm 77, verse 10. The questions end. Asaph does not answer them. He does not resolve them with a theological argument or receive a vision that dissolves the darkness. Instead, something shifts, not in his circumstances, not in the silence where God's voice should be. The shift happens inside Asaph himself, in the space between the last unanswered question and this single declaration. This is my infirmity. Asaph names what has been happening. The word translated infirmity carries the meaning of sickness, weakness, or affliction. It is a condition belonging to the sufferer rather than to God. Asaph has been conducting his search, asking his questions, lying awake through the night. And somewhere in that process, he has located the problem. The problem is not that God has changed. The problem is that Asaph is sick. His soul is afflicted. His perception has narrowed to the length of the current darkness, and from inside that narrowness, he has drawn conclusions about God that do not match God's actual character. This is a significant moment. Asaph does not blame God for the questions. He does not defend the questions as reasonable responses to the evidence. He calls them what they are, the product of his own infirmity. A wounded man does not see. A man lying awake through sleeplessness, unable to speak, pressing through his own soul in diligent search, is not operating from his strongest position. His conclusions carry the distortion of his condition. The evangelical understanding of this verse recognizes that Asaph is not recanting his pain. He is not pretending that the questions were never asked. The questions are still there in the text for every generation to read. What Asaph does is correctly identify their source. They arose from his infirmity, not from God's actual conduct. This distinction matters. A man in a pit does not see the same sky as a man standing on open ground. Asaph has been in the pit, and he now acknowledges that the pit has shaped what he thought he saw. But I will remember the years of the right hand of the Most High. The conjunction but carries the full weight of the verse. Everything before it belongs to infirmity. Everything after it belongs to deliberate, chosen memory. Asaph does not wait to feel better before he remembers. He does not wait for the sleeplessness to end, or for speech to return, or for the sanctuary to be rebuilt. He decides now, from inside the infirmary, to remember. What he remembers is specific, not general impressions of God's goodness, not a vague awareness that God has been faithful somewhere to someone. He remembers the years of the right hand of the Most High. The right hand is the instrument of divine power and action throughout Scripture. God's right hand dashes the enemy to pieces. The right hand of the Most High has a history. It has acted across years, across generations, across the entire span of Israel's covenant life with God. That history does not dissolve because Asaph cannot sleep. It does not evaporate because the sanctuary is in ruins. It stands as it always stood, fixed in what God did, immune to Asaph's current infirmity. The decision to remember is itself an act of faith. Asaph cannot reason his way out of the questions, but he can turn his mind toward what God's right hand has done across the years, and that turning is what the verse records. Not arrival nor resolution, but the turn itself.